Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Never Satisfied. Tonight, I have a unique story. Uh, it's a story about a car that I call the ZX4. It's a race car that I built years ago. It was famous for several years in a lot of circles. It only won one race, kind of, but boy, it left a big impression on a lot of people. So I've uh, I've been involved in all kinds of cars my whole life. I've owned 150 cars or more in all sizes, shapes, and brands, and I've loved every one of them. Well, almost every one of them. I've had some that I didn't love so much, but this is a story about one particular car that I think you'll like. It's a story about my involvement with the Fiero community for roughly about 10 to 12 years, something like that. I first started noticing Fieros in the 1980s when I worked near a Pontiac dealer, and I used to see them on the lot. I would watch them unload them, and I really, especially like the GTs. I really like the way those look. But anyway, I didn't. I went up to the Pontiac dealer one day, and out of curiosity, to uh, check them out, see what the prices were. A price of a new 80, it was an 88 GT, I think, at the time. I'm not quite sure of the year. I think it was 88. The price for that car was $17,000. And for $17,000, I could buy a brand new Olds Cutlass Supreme. And so that was kind of a no-brainer, because paying $17,000 for a car and getting an Olds Cutlass Supreme versus a Fiero made more sense to me for what I used it for. So it was a family car. The Fiero didn't really qualify as a family car like the Oldsmobile did. So years passed, and I moved to Washington State from California, and my new office was right down the street from an automobile auction. And I used to go down there at lunchtime and kind of walk around and look at the cars. And they always had one or two Fieros in there. And I would sit down in them, look at them, and I became more and more interested in them. So a few more years, and at this time I was driving Triumphs, and I owned a Fiat 124 Spider for a while. Then I bought some Triumphs. I was driving Triumphs and belonged to the Triumph Club in Seattle. So time went by, and I decided to start my own fab shop, and I needed money to start the fab shop. So I had a gorgeous uh, TR7 Spider, red. It's just a beautiful car. And I sold it to fund my new business venture. So I was out without a sports car, which I really love sports cars. So I was without a sports car for a couple of years. My business took off really well. And 2 years later, I was doing really well financially. And I was time to get back into another sports car. So Christmas Day, 1997, I bought my first Fiero. It was a car that was super low miles, had been stored away for several years. I think it was 11 years old when I bought it, and I think it had less than 60,000 miles. It had like 56,000 miles on it. It was 11 years old. But the car was just pristine. It was about as perfect as you could get. because it had very little use. And so I bought the car, and I kept that car for another 10 years. That car won a lot of trophies because it was so gorgeous. There was not anything molested on that car whatsoever. The paint was pristine. Everything about that car was great. So anyway, I got acquainted with the Fiero Club, local Fiero Club, Jet City Fieros out of Everett, Washington, where Boeing is located, hence the name Jet City Fieros. And I was only a member of it a couple of years, and I became president of the club. And we started doing a lot of things because the club was just kind of moseying along, not really doing anything big. And when I came in, I wanted to really make the club active and big. So we started coming up with new activity, things to do, and places to go. Well, one of the first places that we thought would be fun to go to was the GTO show in Redmond, Oregon. Now, keep in mind, we live up in the Seattle area, and the Redmond, Oregon show is pretty far piece from where we live. But that didn't matter because we were all into driving our Fieros. The farther we drove them, the better we liked it. So we all got together and headed down to Redmond, Oregon for the GTO show. What a surprise that was. We were not really welcome. They said that they welcomed all brands, and they had all the GTOs up in front, and all the other cars were in the back, and everybody was welcome. But holy cow! I mean, we were treated like hired help or worse. I mean, it was really bad. They were so rude to us. It was amazing, and left a really bad taste in my mouth. I pulled up my car. Now I'm really proud of my car. I love my car. I pull up my car in front of the registration desk, and there's nobody there. So I get out and start walking around trying to find somebody that we can register. And I turn around, and my car is driving away. And so a guy drives it over and parks it. Gets out. I said, "What are you doing driving my car?" And he said, "Well, it was in the way." I said, "You had no permission to drive my car." "Well, you need to move it. You need to get it out of the way." I said, "Well, you could have asked me. I would have gladly moved it. But I don't appreciate you just getting in my car and driving it." But anyway, we kind of squared off a little bit there, and I was really pissed. And I was pissed about that all day. Actually, I was pissed about it for about a year. My cars are really personal to me. So anyway, the next day, we stayed at the show, and the next day we spent the night there because the next morning or the next day, north of Redmond is a little town called Madras, and they have a 1/8 mile drag strip up on the hill just north of Madras, and that's the All Pontiac Drag. So we went up there and just had a blast, watched all the activities, and a lot of the Portland guys from Oregon had come down and put their Fieros in the competition, and we watched them race and everything. So um, that's really fun. So all the time in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I need to get some revenge here for the way we were treated. I'm thinking, I got to get some revenge here. So on the way home that day, I'm thinking, I'm coming back with a fast Fiero, and I'm going to kick some ass. That's what I was thinking. And I couldn't get that thought out of my mind. Those guys are going to pay for the way they treated us. So we went back home to the Seattle area, and I guess the Fiero gods were smiling down on me, I guess, because we hadn't been back long. Now, remember, this is in the summertime, late summer. So, long about September, I think, about September, I got a call from a friend of mine, and he said, I've got a Fiero I think you'd be really interested in. And I said, okay, what's this all about? So he said, there's a Fiero that in a garage not too far from your shop that was guy was building as a race car and moved out of his mom's house and got married and just left the project in her house in her garage, and she wants it gone. So you can make a really good deal on that car. Okay, let's go look at it. So I took my shop mechanic with me. We went over and took a look at it. Opened the garage door. I've never seen a Fiero disassembled in that many pieces in my life. There wasn't anything together. It was all taken apart. The body was pristine. The interior was pristine. And so the guy said, well, he put a lot of money into this engine. It's an Iron Duke 4-cylinder. He said he put a lot of money into this engine. He pulled it out of an Oldsmobile, and he's got it bored out. It's got all kinds of trick things done to it, and it's just waiting for somebody to put it together. Yep. Well, I think that's me. So I really don't know what I paid for it. It wasn't much, but we bought a rollback wrecker over and literally drug the carcass up on the bed of the trailer. It had no wheels on it. We drug it up on the trailer. We loaded my F-150 to the hilt with parts and boxes and pieces, and we put the rest of it inside the body of the Fiero. We took it back to my shop, and I dedicated a room for building the engine, and so we set everything up to build the engine. You'll see some pictures of it a little bit later. You'll see the pictures of the room and the construction of the engine. Now, I don't have a lot of pictures to show you. It's mostly just a story, okay? But I got the receipts, and when you get to the end of the video, you'll see why I was really, really happy, okay? And a lot of other people were really, really pissed off. GTO people, they were not happy. So anyway, we get the car back to my shop, and it's like, this car is in hundreds of pieces. So now this is a funny part of the story, okay? My buddy is a foreman at an auto shop not too far from me, and he says, I have a complete Fiero here that doesn't run. You can come and get it, and you can use it for a template to build your car up, so you know where everything goes and you can identify all the parts. Wow, that's a great idea. So I bought the car, got the car, brought it back to my shop, and we sat it outside the shop so that my shop mechanic could refer to it and if he had any questions. We put the car back together, and the car was just really a nice car. The guys that owned it before had racing pistons, had racing rings. He had taken he had put I don't know how he did it, but it was a modified Chev 350 valve train that had been somehow or another made to work in that little 4-cylinder. Larger valves. It was balanced. It was ported. It had a comp cam. It was everything inside the engine was polished. You could get a beautiful job on it. So we put it together very carefully. And what's amazing is that car was so quick. When we got it back and got it running, it was just amazing how quick it was, because it was a lightweight car. It was a 1984 SE with no equipment on it whatsoever. It was just bone stock little car, and it was lightweight. The guy had bought all new, can't remember what they're called. He had bought all new KYB. I think it was KYB, K. I'm not sure. Some kind of special shocks and bushings and everything for the suspension. He did everything. Everything was just amazing. All El knew, and all I had to do was put it back together. And the car it handled fantastic. We put a header on it, and 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 for one of a better muffler, we put a glass back on it, a little short glass back. Yeah, that car sounded great with that little glass back on it. But it would wrap up really quick, and the car was just fun to drive. It was like a go-kart on the street. Uh, I didn't realize a four-cylinder could be that quick and that much fun. So here comes the fun part of the story. So we got the car all back together, and it's running great. And so it didn't run worth a darn when it was cold. It had to warm up before it ever ran right. It had to get some heat in the engine before it ran right. And so to break in the engine, I drove it about, my house is about 25 miles from the shop, and I drove it home every back and forth to work to break in the engine. But we put together pretty fast, so we didn't ever hook up the e-brake. So I was driving it without an e-brake. So where my house was up on a hill, and I had a really steep driveway. And so when I parked it at night, I put a chock behind the wheel so it wouldn't roll back down the hill. So every morning I would get up. I only drove it back and forth like 3 times before this incident happened. Wow, I'm lucky I'm even alive sitting here talking to you guys when I look back on it. Because I got out in the morning, I fired it up, I let it idle, and I went back in the house. And about 10 minutes later, I came out. I'm ready to go to the office. And so I reached in. I didn't get in the car. I reached in. I turned off the ignition, and I pushed it up into first gear. I thought. So then I went back and pushed the car forward just a little bit. This car was just on a slight slope, not radical, not yet. When it got about 10 feet back, it got really radical. So the slope got really steep. So I rolled the car forward. I put my weight against the roll the car forward, and I reached down and I take the chock out. And when I took the chock out and I released the weight back on the car, I heard that ominous click from the transmission. I knew it had slipped out of gear, and I knew I was instantly in big trouble. So my first reaction was, if it goes straight down my driveway, it's going to end up in my neighbor's garage, not through the front door, not through the front door of the garage, but through the side of his garage, or worse. So I thought, in my mind, I thought, I need to steer the car so that it goes down the slope into my lower yard. My yard was terraced. I need to steer the car to the right so that it turns and goes down into my own yard. so it doesn't destroy anybody else's stuff. Well, that wasn't really a good idea because when I did that, the car had picked up momentum really quickly. And when I did that, I'm standing in front of the door. The door is open. I'm steering the car so it goes down the road. The door immediately knocked me down and dragged me about 15 feet down the driveway. I mean, I'm all beat up. The car was great. The car went down in my yard, suffered almost no damage. It didn't hurt anything. It ran over a tree stump, bent up a little bit of the metal on the underside, but we straightened that out. But holy cow, I looked like I had been dragged through a meat grinder. I mean, my nose is skinned up, my forehead, my chin. I didn't wear a beard at that time. My chin, my nose, my forehead, where I scraped me down the sidewalk or the driveway, dragged me through the gravel. I cut my wrists, cut my hands up. I mean, it just rolled me up good. But what saved me is this. The gravel on the side of my driveway was lower than the driveway. So the minute I got off of the driveway, I got free of the car. And that's what basically saved my life, I think. So I get up, I think, God, I'm still alive. I'm still actually walking and I'm still alive. So I'm blood's running down my face. My jean jacket's all torn to heck. My pants got holes in the pants. I mean, I really got rolled up in this whole thing. So the hospital's not very far from my house. So I walked in. My wife is still asleep. Okay, so I walk in the bedroom and I said, I need for you to take me down to the hospital. She wakes up and she sees me all bloody and everything. She's like, holy crap, what happened to you? You know, scared her half to death. So the good side is we went to the hospital. I have no serious injuries. I've just, my ego has just been really, really bruised, really bad. My face is all skinned up. And my car is down in my front yard with the rear wheels in the ditch. The drainage just alongside the road. So I get myself all organized and I call my shop mechanic and he comes out with our shop truck and drags the car back up on the road, puts it on a dolly and takes it back to the shop. Really, the car is in great shape, but I look like I have been through a meat grinder. So a week goes by, maybe even not a week. So time to take the car back that doesn't run, time to take that car back to my friend's garage and give it back to him. So I load the template Fiero up on a dolly, hook it up behind my F-150, which is brand new F-150. I hadn't had it very long at all. Beautiful silver gray truck. You'll see it in the picture. So we head down to take the car back to the shop. About halfway there, I'm driving down a 4-lane boulevard and I'm following a box truck. And I'm not anywhere close to him. I'm not following too close at all. So we're going by a wrecking yard and some crazy old coot pulls out in front of that box truck in an old beat up Pontiac and the box truck slams on his brakes and I slam on my brakes and then the guy goes on across the street and the box truck misses him. So when the box truck brake lights went out on the box truck. I left off my brakes. And then the box truck guy wants to yell at the guy and the old guy in the Pontiac. So he slams on his brakes again. It's too late. I mean, I've used up all that space. And man, I smacked that box truck right in the back. $8,000 worth of damage to my brand new F-150. So we pull over on the edge of the street and call the police. So the police officer, this is the funny part of the story. The police officer comes out, he's investigating what's going on. And he says, he's looking at everything over and he looks at me and he says, "Oh my God, you need to go to the hospital?" And I said, "Oh no, this happened last week. I'm good." So anyway, he said, "Okay, you look awful." Yeah, I know I look awful. I know that. So anyway, he writes me a ticket for following too close. I said, "No, I wasn't following too close." I didn't argue with him. I said I wasn't following too close. Quick side note, I took it to court. I beat it. The judge looked at the officer and says, "You don't know the law. This man wasn't following too close. This was caused by a third party. I'm dismissing this ticket. You need to learn the law." He actually reprimanded the police officer right in front of me in court. And I think, yeah, how often does that happen? So, okay. So, anyway, got the car back, got it running, drove it around, got the engine broken in, everything. And by this time, a lot of time has passed. By this time, we're getting close to time for the Madras drags to show up, come up again. So I've got that's all I've got in my mind. Revenge. This is going to be revenge. So got the car all dialed in. Dang, it was just running fantastic, quick. I got tires on it I wanted for racing. Everything was dialed in. So we had the Madras, and it was just a little white car. You'll see the pictures. It was just a little white, nondescript Fiero. Had nothing special on it. Nothing. It just looked like Grandma's Fiero. So we started doing the time trials, and it ran pretty consistent. We did several hours of time trials. I got to run several runs, and so it was running right about just over 11 seconds in 1/8 mile. And so the Pontiac, the big Pontiacs that I was going to be racing against were running in the 10s in a 1/4 mile. So we weren't that far apart. It was bracket racing. Okay, so anyway, so I just got the car, because I was 61, 62 years old. And so my reaction time was in the toilet. I mean, I had a horrible reaction time. That's when you get your timing ticket, it shows your reaction time. I said, I've got to fix that some way. I've got to get that reaction time right. So what I did to compensate for my slow reaction time from being an old codger, I would roll the car up to the starting line, and I would just break the beam so that I was staged. And as soon as I got staged, I would stop immediately, because I wanted to stay as far away from that second light beam as I could. And this was the whole plan. And I had developed this while we were doing the time trials, and I got pretty dang good at it pretty quick. So when the yellow lights came down, and that last yellow light came on, I watched it intensely, and as soon as it came on, I waited just a split second and made the decision to drop the clutch. And I've got the engine up about 2,500 RPM, something like that. I don't know, somewhere around there. And as soon as that light came down and it was on for just a split second, I made the decision, okay, I go. I dropped the clutch. I never red lighted. And when that light turned green, the clutch was already engaged and that car was moving. That car would come off the line so fast. It literally leapt off of the line. And that's why I had the results that I did, because I pulled such a hole shot on those guys that they couldn't catch me. And I'm running against Pontiac 455s. I'm running against GTOs, Le Mans. I'm running against all of them, and I'm beating every single one of them. So at the end of the race, I didn't even realize that I had eliminated everybody. And it came down, and I was shocked when I found out that we were going to the trophy dash. And I did the trophy dash against about a 67 or 68 GTO convertible. So we lined up, and I did my yellow light trick. I'm off, man. I mean, I come out of the hole like a torpedo, and I beat the guy. So I actually won the whole dang shebang, but I broke out of my time by like a couple of hundredths of a second. I lost. I got second place. So anyway, I got second place only on a technicality because I actually crossed the finish line before that guy did. So I beat everybody with my little Fiero, with my little 4-cylinder Fiero. I beat them all. So I'm telling you guys, don't be so critical of guys driving 2M4 Iron Dukes, because if they know what to do with them, they can have a pretty formidable little car. And I love that car. I nicknamed it the ZX4 because it was all experimental. We did everything about it was experimental, and it was a raving success. And before we get to the pictures, I've got to tell you something, another story to go with this. So maybe I don't know, maybe 10 years later, or maybe about 10 years later, I've sold a Fiero. I still have my other Fiero, but now I have a beautiful yellow Corvette LT1. Gorgeous car, competition yellow and black leather interior. So I belong to the local Corvette club in Salem. So we met in the evening some night. I don't remember what night it was, but we go to a local restaurant and we have our meeting in the big conference room in the local restaurant. So this is 10 years after this happened. So we're sitting there, and one of the guys that I know has a Corvette, he pulls up in a GTO, and he drives he had a GTO and a Corvette. So he pulls up and comes in, sits down, and we start talking. And I said, I didn't realize you owned a GTO. Yeah, he said, I do. He said, I love it. And I said, well, let me tell you a story about GTO. And I told him that story, and he said, holy cow, was that you? And I said, that was me. He said, I was there. He said, I was in the tower. There were so many people pissed off that those guys were ready to kill you. And the day I was loading my car back on the trailer at the end of the race, I was loading up next to a guy with a big Pontiac 455. And he says, God grief, man, you pissed off a lot of people today. Mission accomplished. Okay. So I thought you'd like that story. I'm going to show you some pictures, and I'm going to give you the receipts to back up what I just told you. Okay. And that whole episode was one of those stories that very few people get to live through. And I'll always be thankful that I was able to do that. And I'm able to tell you that story. And I hope it makes, as a 2M4 owner, I hope I made your day a little brighter. So I'm going to close off now. I'm going to show you some pictures, and I'll be back. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. Please like and subscribe. It's going to help me promote my channel, bring you more presentations, bring you more car show reports. I'm sorry, car show reports, and more car news in general. So I would appreciate that support. To all of your Fiero owners who took the time to watch this, thank you so much. And I wish you the very best of luck with your cars and your car shows and your club drives. Great little cars. I'll always remember mine and hold them in the high regards. So take care of those little cars and preserve them. They're worth it.